Hi everyone, welcome to your Sports Physiotherapy course module. I am Lounis Brennemann, physiotherapist and strength and conditioning coach. We are happy to share with you behind the scenes of the pre-season of the enthusiasts with here Bastian Haber, the club's head physiotherapist, as the team is getting ready for the season ahead. Let's place this training session into context. It's a pre-season event, pre-season training, so this is where the team is getting ready before the competition. This period lasts usually in Finland between January and March included. The aim of this very session is change of direction and speed, which are two important components of football. And to get even closer to the details, it's important to know that the day before this very workout was a very high end volume and intensity. So there was a game 11 against 11 or similar, plus some conditioning. Okay, so you have to take that in consideration when you're planning your training sessions. Tomorrow, however, after this session, will be a free day to allow recovery. Today's training will be separated between the strikers. So now you're witnessing the strikers warm-up before their specific training. Today we are going to only see the physiotherapy part that matters for you guys, and the football part will be happening beside or after that preparation. The strikers part will last about 20 minutes, and then the rest of the team will last about 25 minutes. So why do we separate the strikers? Well, the strikers usually, as everybody knows, have the most spectacular attributes. They are the ones who sells the more shirts. They are usually the most expensive players. They are the cherished children of football, let's say. They play in the decision zone, but most importantly, as a physiotherapist, the demand of intensity is a little bit more specific for them. The first step quickness, the top speed, and the shooting power will be the theme of the physical competencies that they are going to train afterwards. So that's why they will need a little bit more specific training that day. So of course, this is born from the communication between the coach of the strikers and the physiotherapist. So it will always start with something quite general. As you could see, they started to do some short distance run at a low intensity. Now they start to get through some mobility work, quite general, of course a lot of lower limb, but also midsection and upper limb is important. So you can see that the mobility work is happening after a lower intensity warm-up, that you start to get some stretch through that muscles when they are already a little bit warm. The group is quite small, so it could be possible in that case to go through more technical and complex exercises. Yet Bastian is here keeping things pretty simple, pretty basic, but yet through more and more specific movements. You can see now starts to look like some shooting, obviously. As you can see today, the weather conditions are awesome, so it doesn't require too specific warm-up or too deep warming up of the tissues. It will be easier for the player to feel comfortable. We can also use the floor. See, obviously some exercises on the floor when there is a layer of snow or ice, it's not so easy. You can obviously notice that the choices of exercises and especially of stretches in that situation is definitely more towards dynamic stretch than static stretch. Moving up and down, try to get some combo. This kind of combination has been practiced before and repeated several times. You don't want to teach them or make them learn new combo stretching tricks at every session. There is no point neither physically or cognitively for them. They are not trying to learn the choreography. Their specific sport is football. So let them repeat what they commonly know for more efficiency and try to step by step implement new things, but do not change the whole plan or the whole exercises set every time. So it's very interesting for you also to see that all the players, and now it is actually a small group, don't have the exact same timing. Some of them will perform the exercises 30 seconds, others will perform it 30. So you need to keep in mind that you need to be more flexible when choosing your range of exercises and their volume when you're instructing to a group of players. So after a general warm-up, starts to be included the balls. Without instructions, you could see that instinctively the players are going towards the ball and start to do some small tricks with it. So you can imagine how is the motivation when you present exercises with or without balls. They really like to use the balls to play. Okay, now to practice some header, change of direction and back. So as a physio, for you to be able to implement more complex exercises and also to create some team spirit, it's very good to integrate other players to also be part of the organization. So everybody is participating, it's more fun. And even in a high performance environment, fun must be part of the equation. The socio-affective aim of physical activity is also present. Of course, the more performance is involved and the more psychomotoric aim will be dominant. Thus, remember that there are players. Like football is a game, so it's not like a cyclist or a runner or traditional skiing where it's all about speed and VO2 max and numbers. In football, there is play that is a big part of the equation, so think about that when you're training your players. That's important. So some acceleration, change of direction, using the ball, because of course all the physical capacities developed have to be transferable. Besides, using the ball will allow you also to modulate intensity and what tension you want on the nervous system and on the musculoskeletal structures. As you can see, Bastian has prepared a head pattern, instructing it to them, and let's see how they do. Starting with a jump, change of direction, acceleration, deceleration, and precision. Yeah, this player has put much more nervous input, so of course it's important that you try to assess the quality of movement of the players and how do they put intensity, and because you will know the context of the player, you can think, okay, is the player tired? Is the player not motivated? There could be several reasons why the player is not performing well at training. It could be that you could ask also individually to your players to lift off the foot or don't go too hard, and propose a perceived rate of exertion a little bit lower for that or that day. Of course, the strikers are now separated, so it's already some individualization, but if you want to individualize even more, of course that's the best scenario possible. It requires more resources, but when there is something obvious that requires for you 20% of effort to get 80% of outcome, don't hesitate. So now we are really preparing the structures with that change of direction. So you really want the biomechanics of the hips, the knees, the feet, the ankles to be involved. I think it's the right time to try to make you know the difference when you train the change of direction and when you train the agility. So now the point of those change of direction again is the preparation of the structures, but also you can train it because it's a need during the game as well as agility. The change of direction is usually defined by a pattern that is planned ahead. So when in advance you know what pattern you want to do, then it's change of direction. This is important when you hold the ball. When the striker runs and tries to pass through defenders, he can have a plan in advance. Agility, however, is due to reaction. So it's more like you have an action of the striker, and you as a defender, for example, you will be able to react quickly and change your direction, but without planning ahead the direction of it. It's important to know when you train agility that the response to a light or a robot will not be as transferable as the response from a human being. So when you train agility, do it with the players themselves more than with technological tools. Now the group is bigger. It's the rest of the team that joined. So the strikers went to do their specific training there. Bigger group, again, starting with a general warm-up. It means that they start to already run, try to go through the different planes of space, backward, forward, sagittal plane, frontal plane. Low intensity at first, quite short distances chosen. So obviously football is more like of an alternating sport between running fast in short distances and then taking breaks. Planning to run some long distances when your aim is change of direction and speed doesn't make really sense. But the decision making can be also due to the use of the field. For example, today only the half of the field is available because the field has to be shared. So that can be also part of your decision making. Try to integrate also the reciprocal movement with the upper limbs. So connect commissural fibers as well as warming up the upper limb. Very good to work on that coordination. Okay, you see now dissociating the right leg and the left leg. Try to get some rhythmic work. Very good and important also for coordination. It's very helpful also for the player when you do unilateral exercises because they can also test themselves, and it can be also some part of the education you make with them. That when they start to warm up, they try to get intensities, they go to ranges. When they start, they should be able to assess their state of shape of the day, the way they feel. So now we start to get to some actual plyometrics. So you see how it's implemented. Right to left, right to left. Now movement more on the frontal plane. To get a little bit more intensity, get the physical contact. So that's definitely a pattern that you would find during the games. Now you can notice also that there is no aim for any size or weight organization. So that's part of the brain plasticity work also, to have different kind of contact and opponents. So now a good way to alternate higher and lower intensity using the teammates. So while one is going hard around, the other one is just jogging. Okay, now clearly the instruction was to really start to put some nervous activation into the acceleration, but obviously the volume is kept low because the fatigue is added from yesterday's training. So when there was fewer players, it was okay to keep them in line, but when there start to be several of them, a circle like this can be a good option, so everybody is on the same distance of you to see and hear your instructions, and you can also have pretty good vision, but you have to be aware, look around. Bastian is choosing a range of exercises that is very, very complete, going through everything. Obviously, not all the players will perform perfectly every exercise, but you have to always remember that if one of those exercises is not performed well or two, it doesn't matter because there is anyway a complete activation otherwise, and you shouldn't and couldn't stop the training of everybody because one individual is not doing something correctly. So you can also after that go to ask what happened today, why this exercise wasn't possible. It's very important to a long time ahead make the education to the players also, that they have to know when they have to ask questions, come to ask you, assess when something is going wrong. The communication will be much smoother. So this kind of exercises, stretching the adductors, it's quite sensitive area, can be tricky. It's good to implement them a bit later in the session when the muscles are already warm. We've discussed that earlier during that training. The challenge for the physio is obviously to challenge enough the system to be warmed up, or in some circumstances to ensure that there is a stimulus, mechanical stimulus or nervous stimulus, to hope for some adaptation and progress. But always keep in mind that now his point is not to squeeze the players out and that they wouldn't be able to play football after his part. So get them ready, get the stimuli, but keep something in the tank for them to actually play football, which will be always the most important for them. Now back to the higher intensity. So when you're hoping for lower volume but higher intensity and you really would like to have maximum output from each of the reps that you propose to your players, obviously you need to give them some rest. So this is always a challenge. You maybe have faced that challenge if you have studied the instruction of physical activity, that leaving some participants sitting or not doing anything while the others are doing, it's always complex. But in some cases, like obviously you have to let the players to rest and hang around, even if they would feel that they don't need more rest because their cardiorespiratory system is ready to engage. Yet, physiologically, you know that in order to give 100% of your nervous output, you will need 3 minutes of complete rest or very low intensity active rest. So after the high intensity sprint, he went back while the muscles are warm to some dynamic stretches. Now he's going to the explosive jumps. Now it takes time to give the instructions, they take rest, and then back. Now you see that when they are doing their bounce, they are going right, left. You don't go straight, for example, with some single leg bounce. That would be too much. That requires some steps in between. Now they can go through the single leg. Again, here you want power, you want quality, so you do want them to do 25 jumps. Few jumps, high input, couple sets. So the amount of sets will be directly decided considering the fatigue conditions. So if there would be a rest day before, rest day after, there could be 3 sets for those exercises. You will see in the in-season video that if nervous system and musculoskeletal system are tired, 1 set can be enough. Now there was 2. That was the decision made. Again, very specific exercise. Football, for those who don't know, is a contact sport. This is something that is allowed in football, and it's something that's important to work on. Separate, run hard. So this is a very interesting way to do some contrast training. So everybody knows the contrast training at the gym, where you would use a heavier load, drop it, and go immediately much lighter, so you can really benefit from the nervous activation of the heavier load and try to get a faster activation on the light phase. So this is exactly what we get, but on the field with players. So it's important when you're using the heavy load, or now that they are pushing their partner, that they don't get through a state of fatigue or muscular failure, because you will not be able to use the potential of the nervous activation afterwards. The players were allowed to take a break for a minute, get some drink, make sure that they are fully recovered for that last part that will be change of direction oriented, and try to put as much intensity as they can. So now the structures are ready, physically, psychologically, now they're engaged. They will go to do the football part right after that. They should now be able to give their full potential, and they must. So now you see it's a team against the other. Of course, these are high-performing athletes, so they are competitive, they want to win, and when you really want them to put 100% of their effort, there has to be some competition involved. So this is what Bastian is now using. You may, for sure, observe that in some of the drills, some players are not exactly using the same patterns. So of course, the point of a game in a competition, it can work only if it's fair. But if you think about the aim of the session now, is to make them run fast and change direction fast. So if they are missing one cone at some point, it's no big deal. At least the structures are ready. Then when the game comes and then the referee comes, it becomes more important. Thanks for watching, everyone. We hope you got some very good insight and gave you some creative examples for you to implement next time, and discuss with your classmates what decision you would take differently. See you next time.